In 1901, the village of Lafarge built a building to replace the school that had burnt down in 1900. The new building, now called the 1901 building, was completed at a cost of $12,000. When the building was finished, more teachers were hired, and the residents of Lafarge voted to make high school last for 4 years instead of just 2.
Oh, it was just a big brick building, and it was a big building compared to our little country school.
Of course, we didn't have a gym. We were in the old school building over here. And so they would, we had, where they played basketball was up over Phil and Deb's bar in the upstairs. They had there was a big stage. We always called it the Opera House. But anyway, then we'd go up there and shoot baskets and play just like on Friday night.
When the first class graduated in 1901, there were only 4 students, and they were all girls. By 1915, though, the class size grew to 16. By the time Dorothy Peterson graduated in 1950, there were even more.
Well, we started out as a class of 35 as freshmen, but we only had 25 when we graduated. And we do kind of keep in touch. There's some that still live around here, or their parents do, so they come back. And it seems like since 75, the all-school reunion falls on our 5-year anniversary too, so we get together then.
Classes at Lafarge have never been huge. This is a photo of all the students in the high school, but that doesn't mean there aren't advantages to working at and attending a small school.
Well, I really liked the relationship that I had with students, being able to work in a small school. You get to have close relationships with the students that you have. You might be working with them in the classroom, you might be working with them in athletics, you might be an advisor to them in an activity. So you get to work with students very closely, and I really enjoyed that.
The thing I like about being at Lafarge is I know every kid by name in grades K through 12. A lot of times I know their parents, I know their grandparents, I know their sisters, I know their brothers, and having that kind of knowledge about a kid really helps you have insight as to what's going on in their life, and so you can be more helpful to the student.
I think the best thing about going to school here was that you knew everyone, you got along with everyone, the classes were bigger, you get some individual attention. The classes are bigger than they are now.
Being small also meant having the opportunity to be unique.
I can remember they had we had something called a talking typewriter at that time, which was the first one in the entire Midwest. And it was specially designed to help with students with special needs and communication and things like that. Nobody else in the whole Midwest had it.
There have been many changes to our school since it was built, the most obvious being the changes to the building itself. The first edition of the school was completed in 1936, although Maxine Sherd can recall a time before the modern amenities were included.
There was a whole row of outside toilets. So when we had to go to the bathroom, outside we went the full length of the yard down to a row of trees, and these toilets were down by these trees. Well, the boys had a certain door they came in that faced south. We came in the one over here between the two grades, or the grade school, you know, that where you go up the steps. And that was the girls' door. But the boys never came in the girls' door, and the girls never went in the boys' door.
The next addition was the elementary wing, completed in 1957. The Elmer Smith Addition, named after a member of the community, was dedicated in 1961. It included a music room, kitchen, and egg room. The breezeway connecting the elementary wing with the original school was built in 1962. In 1964, the gym was completed, along with the stage and industrial arts room. The old gym became the school offices and cafeteria. In 1996, the high school wing was completed, and over the summer of 2006, the gym floor was replaced.
These additions to the buildings made a big difference at LHS, but many other changes have been more than just physical.
I can tell you this, that when I went to school here, and you always probably hear this stuff, you know, the discipline and the rules and so forth would make the children of today cringe. I was placed on detention once as a sophomore in high school because I wore my shirt out and it wasn't tucked in. I know a friend of mine that could not play football on a Friday night until he got a haircut because our hair could not be over an inch in length to play sports.
They did have detentions, and detentions were served after school for incidents. Students back in those days, if you came to school with your hair too long, you would be asked as a guide to go get it cut before you could come back to school. As girls, up until I was somewhere in high school, we had to wear dresses. The only time we could wear pants would be like at semester test time. Otherwise, you had dresses on. If your dress was too short, you would also be asked to go home and put something else on. So it was real strict.
Another change took place in girls' athletics. Lafarge had a girls' basketball team in 1925, but within years.
Well, they didn't have very much for girls. They had GAA, Girls Athletics, but it was mostly within your school.
Actually, girls' sports just started. I did play basketball and volleyball too, but there wasn't a league. It was kind of, they called them play days. You get together with like Royal and Hillsborough and just play. Kind of like the grade school play days, but they were high school play days.
Basketball only started my freshman year. It wasn't available before that. And as freshmen, we asked Mr. Simons to coach us, and we were terrible. But then they ended up getting a lot better, thank goodness.
It wasn't only the girls' sports that changed, however.
We actually were the football team that I started out in my freshman, I believe, and sophomore year, maybe even junior year. We played the old 8-man football where there were only 8 men. And my senior year, I believe it was, the conference converted over to what's now today 11-man football. And we were better in 8-man football as freshman and sophomore years. I don't know what the exact records were, but we didn't win a lot in 11-man football because we'd never done it before.
Besides sports, another school activity that changed is how homecoming was celebrated.
We always had parades, and so we were always making floats. Which sometimes it took a long time to do, sometimes it didn't. We had the float, the parade was always on Friday afternoon. The bonfire was always Thursday night. And the only thing that was involved in the homecoming truly was the football game. There was a lot more people that used to come back for homecoming games, because homecoming really is to bring back people that have graduated from there. And so there was a lot more people that used to come back for the games. And it wasn't all week. It was really just about the football game.
It wasn't just extracurriculars that have changed over the years. Academics have changed as well.
When I went to school here, for instance, in this room where the offices are now right behind us, that was a foreign language laboratory at the time. And Lafarge School District was one of the first in the state to have a foreign language lab, where you would go in and sit in a booth and have a microphone and headphones, and they would play tapes, and you would, practice language. And at that time, it was all French.
While someone looking at LHS in 1901 may not recognize the LHS of today, some things have stood the test of time.
The Purple and White's always been there. And the school song started, the fight song, the year, or when I was in school. 2 girls were cheerleaders. They were little pretty girls, and then a teacher and them wrote this school song that they still sing.
You know, the cheerleader, Wildcats is nice. You can get it into chants and cheers easily. Purple and white, I kind of like that too. It's kind of, you know, a royal color. But I can remember when I was working here, the band director, who was here for a lot of years, was wishing we'd had some other colors because it must have been hard to get uniforms and stuff then. We, as cheerleaders, we always had we made our uniforms. One of the mothers made them, so we didn't have to worry about that.
While there are lots of great things about a small school, not everything is easy.
People, anybody on the staff, or even the students, have to wear lots of different hats. As a teacher, you have to be the nurse, a coach, a ticket seller, a recess duty, lunchroom supervisor. As a student, most of them are in many activities, or there isn't enough kids to have them.
Even if the teachers and students do have a lot of responsibilities, all their hard work pays off here at LHS.
I'm really lucky to have excellent kids here. I'm also really lucky to work with an exceptional staff. We have some of the best teachers. I've been in 3-4 schools now, and I can honestly say that Lafarge has awesome teachers. And it's cool to work with the teachers that I used to go to school with. They treat me with respect. Even though I was one of their students, that doesn't seem to change the way they treat me. And I don't know, I just think we're really lucky and we have a really good thing here.
One thing is for sure, Lafarge Schools is always changing.
I think it's always changing for the better. You know, I think change is good. If things stayed the same, I would be more concerned than if people tried new things and tried change, especially with what is being taught, the curriculum, and where the direction of the school is going, and parent involvement. It's always good change.